Many strange legends are told of these jungles of India, but none so strange as the story of a small boy named Mowgli.
When Walt Disney acquired the rights to Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book, he undertook a monumental challenge in storytelling. Kipling's The Jungle Book was a sprawling series of stories about the wild child Mowgli, his life among the animals, his conflicts with Shere Khan, and his struggles to adapt to civilization. As he had done in the past with his animated classics from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs to Sleeping Beauty, Walt Disney devised an ingenious narrative approach to a literary masterpiece to mold it to his unique style of animated storytelling. A style so successful that to this day, when we think of those classic stories, most people remember the Disney versions. First among the challenges was to create a linear story from Kipling's episodic adventures that jump forward and back in time. Disney's top storyman, Bill Peet, worked on the adaptation for over a year. When Peet left the studio after arguing with Walt over his approach to the story, he brought home photostats of the story sketches he had begun for his version of The Jungle Book. Now, with Peet's April 1963 treatment from the studio's archives and the recent rediscovery of Peet's photostats more than 40 years later in Bill Peet's home studio, we can see how the story evolved from Rudyard Kipling's original Mowgli stories to Bill Peet's unfinished version to Walt Disney's animated classic.
It all began when the silence of the jungle was broken by an unfamiliar sound.
The story's opening sequence, the discovery of Mowgli and his rescue by the wolves, exemplifies the different approaches of Kipling, Peet, and Disney. In Kipling, the wolves hear Shere Khan attacking a camp of woodcutters. The woodcutter's child wanders off and enters the wolves' cave. Mother Wolf protects Mowgli when Shere Khan comes to claim him. Bill Peet, wanting to add drama and suspense to Kipling's story, embellished the rescue of Mowgli. A man cub has been carried off by the river, clinging to a log. The wolves gather at the waterfall to watch the baby go over the edge. Bagheera tries to rescue the baby but fails. Mother Wolf saves the cub's life as he goes over the waterfall. Disney simplified this story's opening to a few elegant visuals, suggesting the flood by the image of the wrecked canoe. Throughout his adaptation, Bill Peet added dramatic details to Kipling's story. When Walt Disney took over the project, he simplified the narrative every step of the way to make room for character and entertainment.
What's the matter, old Papa Bear?
Look, Mowgli, I've been trying to tell you. I've been trying all morning to tell you. I've got to take you back to the Man Village.
The Man Village?
Bill Peet's greatest departure from Kipling's The Jungle Book turned out to provide the foundation for Disney's story. The Odyssey from the jungle back to the Man Village. That was the anchor that Walt and his story team kept returning to when they encountered difficulties. Kipling's Mowgli went back and forth between the jungle and the village, but the actual journey from jungle to civilization was a complete invention of Bill Peet and Walt Disney. The most complete sequence of Bill Peet's storyboards shows how Peet and later Disney used the journey to introduce characters. From Bill Peet's own treatment and storyboards.
An early morning mist hangs over the jungle, and Mowgli and Bagheera are still asleep. Suddenly, there's a violent shaking of the tree. Down below, an elephant herd is crowded about the tree, and a great bull bellows, "Man cub, what are you doing in my jungle?" And with his huge head, gives the tree trunk another violent butt. "Hold on, Hathi," cries Bagheera. Now don't worry about the man cub. He's on his way back to his village. As the great elephant starts away, he warns, "I'm no killer, man cub, but if I ever come across you in my jungle again, I'll be forced to it. Man and his red flower." A close one indeed, exclaims Bagheera. Now let's get moving before our luck runs out. And he leaps from the tree limb to land lightly on the ground. And as the boy scrambles down to join him, Bagheera takes a cautious look around before starting off. Suddenly, a rhino comes crashing through the bush straight for Mowgli. "I smell a man cub," he bellows. "Death to the man cub!" The rhino wheels around in a fury, his tiny red eyes darting about in confusion. "I'll find you, man cub, wherever you are!" And Mowgli and Bagheera climb a ladder of stout, snaky vines until they are perched safely out of reach on a limb, while the nearsighted rhino goes blundering about far below, charging at bushes, stumps, and boulders in hopes one might be the man cub. Mowgli shakes with laughter, but Bagheera, as usual, remains sternly serious. "If you think this is funny," he growls, "you'll find many more laughs in this jungle. Have you ever tried laughing inside a python?" The boy looks at the thick, ropey vine upon which he is sitting. It is a giant python, and while they've been talking, the big snake has quietly arranged a few of his large coils around the boy until he is wrapped like a mummy.
Bill Pete's Colonel Hathi and Kaa were the starting points for Disney's more richly personified characters.
Those were the days. Discipline was a thing. Bill's character, all that sort of thing, you know.
Pete's Rhino evolved in Disney's hands to a character named Rocky the Rhino, a punch-drunk fighter who showed up in storyboards of the Vultures sequence before being dropped from the story. Another element that Pete adapted from Kipling is the danger posed to the jungle by man's red flower, fire. In Kipling, fire is mentioned in the first scenes as the thing that animals fear and hate most about man. In Pete's story, Mowgli asked Bagheera about the red flower. In Pete's own words,
"Red flower in man talk is fire," replies Bagheera. "Fire?" puzzles Mowgli. Bagheera stops to stare at a charred black spire rising out of the ferns. That was once a great mango tree devoured by the red flower. Many years ago, the jungle creatures attacked man's village, destroyed his cane fields and cattle. Then man, in his anger, turned loose the red flower and destroyed the jungle and many of the beasts.
Later in Pete's story, Mowgli steals fire from the man village to challenge Shere Khan. In story meetings, Walt told his story team to steer clear of what he called the icky, sticky story stuff. Long dialogue-heavy scenes were not for his vision of the Jungle Book. In his ongoing emphasis on entertainment and comedy, the only touches Walt left of Kipling's Red Flower are with King Louie,
laid a secret on me of man's red fire,
and in the final defeat of Shere Khan. The character of Baloo is another big departure from Kipling's story. Kipling describes Baloo as a sleepy, serious old brown bear, a noble teacher of the law of the jungle, who teaches Mowgli the secret words of all the animals so he is safe wherever he goes. Pete's Baloo laid the foundation for Disney's Baloo, a lazy, happy-go-lucky bear who gains a sense of responsibility through his love for Mowgli.
Doo-be-doo, doo-be-doo, doo. Why, you flat-nosed, little-eyed, flaky creep!
All three versions of the story feature the spectacular sequence of Mowgli's kidnapping by the Bandarlog, the monkey people. In Kipling, the ruined city of the monkeys is a frightening place. The monkeys roam the ruins, pretending to be men. They are people without a law. They want Mowgli to teach them how to weave sticks together to make shelter. Bill Pete tried to retain the mysterious qualities of Kipling's Bandarlog. They want Mowgli to show them how to rebuild the city and teach them the secret of fire. Pete introduced slapstick comedy into the sequence with the rescue of Mowgli by Baloo and Bagheera. Disney steered the entire episode toward personality and entertainment. King Louie, with Louis Prima's voice, evolves into a wonderfully comic character.
Now I'm the king of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP.
Striving for a more richly developed story, Pete spun off from the idea of Kipling's The Second Jungle Book, a hidden treasure under the city. In Pete's version, the King of the Apes shows Mowgli the treasure he keeps under the palace. Mowgli has no interest in riches, but later in the story, a hunter from the Man Village forces Mowgli to lead him to the treasure. In both Kipling's and Pete's versions of the story, Mowgli returns to the Man Village and is reunited with the woman, Nathu, who may be his long-lost mother. He stays in the village for 3 months, learning the ways of man. In Kipling, a character from the village, a hunter named Buldeo, thinks Mowgli is a sorcerer or a man-wolf from the jungle and stirs up the villagers against him. Mowgli kills Shere Khan with the help of his brother wolves. He returns to the Wolf Council, but he is not allowed to stay. The story ends with Mowgli and his wolf brothers going off to hunt on their own. Bill Pete, having set up the treasure under Monkey City, was determined to weave that element into a dramatic climax. In his story, Mowgli leaves the village to return to the jungle. His new enemy, Buldeo the Hunter, follows and forces him to lead him to the treasure. Mowgli distracts Buldeo as Shere Khan attacks, killing the hunter. Mowgli uses the hunter's rifle to kill Shere Khan. In the end, Mowgli is a hero among both humans and animals. He lives in the village, but is free to come and go as he pleases in the jungle. This entire sequence was dropped from Disney's version. Walt Disney felt that the heart of the story was Baloo's responsibility to see that Mowgli gets back to the Man Village, and that their arrival to the village was the natural ending for the film. Walt's biggest question was, what draws Mowgli to the village after he spent the whole story trying to stay in the jungle?
Nothing or nobody is ever gonna come between us again.
When Bill Pete left the project, Disney had urged his story team to ignore Kipling's The Jungle Book and to concentrate on entertainment and personality. But in story meetings, when they were stuck for the ending, Walt kept browsing the book for ideas. He found inspiration in 2 passages, one from the end of Mowgli's stories in The Jungle Book. Years afterward, he became a man and married. And one from Kipling's The Second Jungle Book. A girl in a white cloth came down some path that led from the outskirts of the village. Mowgli parted the stalks with his hands and watched her until she was out of sight. And from those passages came the ending Walt had been searching for.
Till the day that I am grown.
Despite the falling out between Walt and Bill Pete, it's interesting to see how much the final version of Disney's The Jungle Book owes to the original work done by Pete.
Thank you for detaining my victim.
Disney simplified the story to the bare necessities. An odyssey home again. An odyssey through dangers and temptations, friendships and growing up. As he expressed in story meetings, fewer events equals more room for character.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
The enduring appeal of The Jungle Book is a testament to Walt Disney's understanding of his audience and his faith in his own vision. As he had proven with all his animated classics since Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Walt Disney had a profound ability to take literary classics and make them uniquely his own. With Kipling's The Jungle Book, he took a story that dramatized the differences between man and animals in a world where man is the danger, and transformed it into a delightfully entertaining musical adventure about the similarities between man and animals and the brotherhood of all living creatures.
I still think he'd have made one swell bear.